But then go a step further. Because it's one thing to lend, and we actually started talking about this, it's one thing to lend to individuals, but then people want to employ more people, and they want to create small enterprises. And this is what has been called the meso-finance gap. It's one thing to lend to an individual. It's a whole other thing then to lend to a group, to start a small business that can then employ other people. And as one of our participants in the session said, if you give people small loans, they think small. Now, a lot can get done in Africa, but this next leap, getting to these medium and small-sized businesses. So to close that gap, the participants came up with two ideas. One, how do you keep that cost of administration down? Because that actually is a big, big deal, cost of administration. One of the great things Nick has sponsored in IBM is something called an innovation jam, where our people all give ideas, both our people, their families, other companies, clients of ours, on things to innovate in the world. And one of them was about building a platform for microfinancing. And we're doing work with the Grameen Foundation, and it is around this area. An open source, a simple, non-complex platform to enable this, to reduce the cost of administration. One example. So, cost of admin has to go down, and you got to find some way to get better information on borrowers. Once you start moving up the ladder here and we start talking bigger amounts of money, right? Now, there is no credit history, no social security numbers. Risk scores are kind of guesses, and so there's beginning to be information available, and more non-traditional lenders will be stepping up here. Now, so the net of all of this is that as you look at it, I think all of our participants were not convinced a Western solution will fit here. But with innovation, another answer is going to come to address this gap, both administration and then how to assess risk, particularly in the how to assess risk area. Now, I'm going to end on the theme of women. Not for the obvious reasons. All right, the non-obvious and non-trivial reasons. A little bit, I want you in the back of your head thinking about the story of India and the hope and the possibilities for Africa based on that. Again, if you don't mind me sharing just a couple statistics, 60% of rural employment in Africa is women. 80% of food production done by women. Women who have developed businesses, in many cases, it has been from necessity, right? They succeed without formal infrastructures, formal institutions. And you're going to hear from some women, and what they do accomplish, or the women they help accomplish, I think is phenomenal. It's amazing, and it will humble you. Bola Olabisi, she's here. She's going to talk about an organization, the Global Women's Inventors, Innovators Network, right? I mean, and it's the examples like a mother in Nigeria who had to make formula for her baby in a special kind, and then realized how to scale that as a business, right, for others who needed it. She'll talk about that. Priscilla Multahaka, she's going to join us as this is a good thing, a serial entrepreneur. This is not related to anything. A serial meaning, and just what, 6 years we talked about? 5 businesses. 5, certain 6 is going to come along there as one of our local heroes to talk about this. So what's required? I mean, what's required is greater institutional support. And if you just think back India 20 years ago, right? Think back India 20 years ago, and I think you'll see what Africa looks like today. And if you go back, the social roles, they were mostly around home and family. And in fact, when they were working, women were working, it was mostly around subsistence of some kind, helping with subsistence. But God, look at India today, right? I look at my industry in information technology, information systems, services. 1.6 billion people, and 1/3 are women. 1/3. Right? So is there a parallel services track here for women, right, that exists in Africa? Because remember that sort of theme. The global economy is a talent economy. And you do see this building up in parts of Africa already today. Whether it's in North Africa, Central Africa, you see call centers, 54,000. We have several thousand people, beginning of the services industry. So the key question is Africa India redux? Will it happen again, right? And it will be innovation not just for Africa, I love this, but innovation from Africa, So I picked just about half the themes, take you a little deeper, and you'll see the rest as you listen to the panels today. And I'm going to close on Two thoughts. One is a hidden theme. It was a hidden theme. It's not formal. It's not formal in the book. But I think if you were at our dinner last night, and I am convinced by the end of the morning you will feel it, and it is the theme of hope that is there from all the participants. So even what I already talked about, I don't think it's all over. At the end of the day, whether it's infrastructure, roads, communications, will corruption end, whatever it is, what I sensed from everyone was that there is a tipping point that we are at, that there is really a tipping point. And all this, like everything, will hinge on some great leadership, individuals' leadership. And they'll find the approaches. They'll find the approaches to make 1 billion people more prosperous. And in fact, that's where I thought last night, that conversation about, it is not about a think tank, it is about a do tank. And Nick and I, Doug, others, as we've done these GIOs, we've worked through, how do you keep making them actionable and get these things to happen? I have no doubt this is going to live far longer than our efforts here, right? And we will see this happen. And so this thing is going to continue. You are seeing the beginning of a movie, not the end of a movie that is about to happen at this point. So it is with that I also now have the great pleasure of introducing to you our next panel, as I've wrapped up what is, I hope, a flyby, but gives you a sense of the wonderful work that has been done by 150 participants. And to bring it alive, right from their heart, and I absolutely believe they all speak from their heart, I am going to introduce Carol Pinot to you. But let me tell her, before she jumps up here, let me just make a couple comments about Carol. Those of you that have not gotten the chance to meet her, she is a journalist, she is a filmmaker, she is as passionate about Africa as everyone in the room. In fact, Africa Open for Business debuted at Cannes a while ago, and your next film about to come out, If Africa Knew Investment Horizons. Did I get it right? Which, apropos to what we're talking about here, right? Versus just Africa Open for Business. You're past that. This is the next level here. But as a journalist, you have interviewed, we talked about this last night, whether it be political people, rebels, business, culture, you name it, across the board. And in fact, lived in Africa, different places. And I think she'll be a wonderful moderator for a panel that is about Africa, the new reality. So thank you for your time this morning. Thank you for your participation. And let me introduce Carol to you.